1, 2, 1, 2, go.
Welcome to Tourism Talk. I'm Laura Schomburg, Marketing Director at the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau, where we work to tell the destination story of Paducah as a UNESCO Creative City. One of the greatest marks of a creative city is the opportunities it provides to interact with master artists, to learn and create and connect with one's own creative spirit. Today, we'll be previewing the Paducah School of Art and Design's Master Artist Workshop Series. We have Paul Aho here, Dean of PSAD, as our guest. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Hey, my pleasure. So happy to be here and happy to have the chance to talk a bit about what we're doing at Paducah and what we're doing at Paducah School of Art and Design.
Wonderful. You all have a lot going on, so we have a lot to cover today.
Well.
I guess we could just start by letting you introduce yourself. You yourself are an artist, a painter. What is your background?
Okay. Well, sure. I have a master's degree in fine art from University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. And I have been teaching as an adjunct or professor for over 20 years. And I'm happy to be here in Paducah, serving as the Dean of Paducah School of Art and Design. And I teach photography for the art school as well, though primarily I'm a painter and I exhibit nationally and do the sort of things that artists do.
Wonderful. And every once in a while we get to see a great local exhibit by you. You had one this spring, which has been great to get to see.
I just took the show down yesterday and put those things back into storage, but it was nice to get them out and to have people see them and get some feedback on that. And again, sort of helps to position my programs and position the school and to build a sense of community that the art school is supportive of as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the art school definitely keeps you busy in itself. So tell us a little bit about the School of Art and Design, what the mission is, and how it's sort of evolved as a wonderful educational center.
Well, certainly its founding, its founding and its concept predate me, but it was originally conceived as sort of the natural adjunct to the Lower Town Artist Relocation Project that the City of Paducah launched maybe, I guess it's 14 years ago or so at this point in time. The art school has been in existence since 2008, since August of 2008, and basically we provide secondary education for two-year students, and we provide educational opportunities and the ability to study with our faculty and with artists that we are bringing in from outside of the region for regional artists and non-traditional students and people from around the country who would come to Paducah to pursue our workshop program that we're talking about today.
Yes, and so let's just get on into that. Like you said, it provides an opportunity for people from outside of Paducah to come and see what sort of a creative city is about, what the School of Art and Design is about. This program launched last year, the inaugural series, and it's 2, 3, and 5 day intensive workshops. So what is the focus of these?
Well, we're starting this program with studies in ceramics and jewelry and metals. So we have, as part of the growth of the school since our beginning, we have in the past several years opened 2 new spaces, and we're on the verge of opening a third 30,000 square foot facility. So by January, a year from now, we will have a fully realized campus of 44,000 square feet that came at a cost of $14 million. So the community college and the state of Kentucky have invested deeply in the success of this program. And so not only for the benefit of our associate and fine art students, the people that we're training for either careers in the arts or transfer experiences to four-year institutions, but for the benefits that we fully expect this will bring to the community. We expect significant gentrification. We expect to bring in students, and we expect to develop a sort of a summer industry and master artist workshops here as we grow this program over the course of years from a program of ceramics and jewelry and metals into one that embraces the other disciplines that we teach as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Last year I know was a very successful year, and we'll get into that a little bit more to hear some testimonials from those participants. But let's talk about this year. How many workshops are there? Is it 8 workshops?
Yeah, we're doing 8 workshops. Last year we did 5 and 3, 5 in ceramics, and this year we sort of split the deck more evenly, and we're doing 4 in ceramics and 4 in jewelry and metals. Again, as I mentioned, as we expand this, we'll begin to stack things onto that. But we're sort of, trying to build markets and get a sense of how best to market the program and where to invest what is reasonably limited dollars for a maximum effect. So we figured that we would start with and try to focus on 2 areas of study. So the artists have been selected by people who teach for us. John Hasegawa, our ceramics professor, has selected all of the artists who are presenting the clay workshops, and Sarah Renshaw, who is our jewelry and metals instructor, has selected those people who are conducting programs of study in those respective areas. So they bring their expertise to bring the expertise of others into the program. And we have had, last year we had really good people. We had Harris Deller from SIU, we had John Neely from Utah State, and just in the ceramics, and Doug Harling, who was he was with the Kentucky School for Crafts at one point in time. He's now teaching, I think he's in Oklahoma. But in any event, we source this out for outstanding artists and educators and people who have workshop experience.
Yes, and I mean, looking through the brochure this year, it is amazing the diversity of the teachers and their various experiences. Each has their own specialty, their own, obviously, perspective as an artist, and bring a lot to this program. So why don't we get started and talk about...
Sure. I'll just mention, I think the common ground is the fact that they all have such high levels of expertise, that they're all really top of their field. Right? So these aren't typical community-based programs. These are programs that are destined to or designed to put the school on a national map and to position Paducah School of Art not only as a place that does workshops, but as a place that supports the sort of activities and brings that kind of level of quality and expectation for our programs across the board.
Right.
So we know that we're a division of West Kentucky Community and Technical College, and we know that we have for 3 consecutive times been awarded our designation from the Aspen Institute for top 10 community college in the nation. We're hopeful that in the coming week we hear word that we have done better than that, and that we'll actually be the #1 community college in the country, which would be a great honor. But that again just gives a sense of who we are, and what we are, and how we work,
Right. The School of Art and Design contributes to that. It all is very interconnected.
Right. And then we have terrific support from everybody at the community college.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And we couldn't be doing this without the leadership of Dr. Barbara Veazey, our college president, and all of the people who have gotten in line and supported this over the course of the years. And the fact that the city of Paducah we raised from the city of Paducah $2 million to match monies that were forthcoming from the state from this Build Smart program that the governor and the former community college systems president, Dr. McCall, put together to capitalize this final leg of our construction, speaks to the level of support that we have in the community as well. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this Master Artist Workshop Series is something that we should all be proud of. I'm so glad we're doing this show today to let people know. This is just the 2nd annual, so it really is being established, and you've done a great job of leading the way with that, and your team, like you said.
Well, nothing hard is ever easy, as we like to say, and this certainly has its own set of challenges, but I don't think that it's a stretch of imagination in any way to think that we can't make this program meaningful for the efforts that you at the CVB do and all the other things that go to contribute to Paducah's role as a cultural destination, and again contribute and add value to the UNESCO designation as a creative city of craft and folk art. So back to this program specifically, again, we have 4 workshop programs in ceramics, and we have 4 workshop programs in jewelry and metals. They begin in late May with a workshop by a gentleman whose name is Chris Baskin, and he's doing a workshop in soda firing. We had a similar workshop last year with Susan Beecher, who was from the East Coast, but Mr. Baskin's going to bring his own set of skills and his own applications to that process. And again, all of these programs complement the facilities that we have. So we have a great kiln yard. So we've got a beautiful soda kiln. We've got with Jason Hess, who's coming as well, who's doing a wood firing workshop. We've got a beautiful wood firing kiln. So we have the facilities and the studios to support these activities and make this a meaningful experience for the people who come for us.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned those facilities. I think the kilns are so interesting. And if our viewers ever have a chance to come to an open house or attend a workshop or a class, they definitely would enjoy that experience of seeing how those work.
Well, I think there's a couple of images that we have that
Yeah,
we can make
can
sure
share that.
our viewers get to see.
Very good. Well, you mentioned Chris Baskin, and something that really struck me about him as a clay artist, it says he's inspired by both ceramic works and the transformative processes. And he has a divinity degree as well as his studies in art. So
Yeah,
that
how
is
about
an
that,
interesting
right?
perspective
Yep.
to.
The transformative process,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right, so each of these people bring a unique perspective because they're all unique people and they're unique artists, and
Yes.
what they do is driven by who they are, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the brochure here are, go to Paducah School of Art and Design.org.
Yes.
And you can look at this and get to know these artists that we're previewing now.
So on the same weekend, so we try to bundle these so that we have some, larger critical mass, and that there's some exchange between the different disciplines, and so the clay people get to meet the jewelry and metals people, and everybody can kind of take a look and say, wow, what's going on over there, and add value to the social aspects and make it more meaningful for everybody as an event and like a travel opportunity as well. So we have Sharon Massey, who's doing a workshop in making jewelry, fabrication of jewelry from steel, from mild sheet steel, which is a non-traditional process and a non-traditional material for jewelers to work with. But we'll see that some of these jewelers or metalsmiths work with very traditional materials, or even in the case of some of them with arcane or sort of archaic practices. That there's also a contemporary approach to metalsmithing and jewelry making that might come as a surprise to a good number of our viewers, right?
Yeah.
So the use of unique and sort of
Right.
unusual materials, in this particular case wire and sheet steel, is both economical and unusual, and the sort of patinas and effects and sculptural processes that she brings to the work make her work stunning.
Yeah.
Quite
yeah.
honestly.
The images are beautiful. So those are the May workshops.
Right, those are in May, and then in June, as I mentioned earlier, we have Jason Hess, who's noted internationally for his work as a ceramic artist who's doing a workshop in wood firing, and he's going to be talking about the various forming processes and slips, and actually they'll be doing firing, which is an extended process. This takes like literally 24 hours to do an effective wood firing, and so it's a kind of a very social event as well. People sort of have to rally around this and tend this kiln over the hours and over the night. But the beauty of the wood fire process is that you get these sort of internalized effects. So it's not like there's a glaze applied to the surface of a ceramic, which is something I think people are familiar with. You see ceramics, they have beautiful glazes, and that's one strategy towards applying surface finishes. But the wood firing actually produces carbon. Different types of wood produce a different type of effect. The heat, the amount of heat, the currents that flow through the kiln, all these things contribute to the firing process. So it is in itself an art, right? This
Yes.
process of how to fire a wood kiln in particular.
Right. And we see how art and science meet.
Right. Well,
Very
we'd
neat.
like to say more of an art than a science, but,
Yeah. Yes,
but still,
yes.
there's a lot of science, and yeah.
Yeah, very neat. And that is a 5-day
Yeah,
intensive.
exactly, right.
Like you said, it's very intense, that 24-hour process.
So it's a mix of demonstration and lecture and hands-on stuff. So people will bring pots or vessels or whatever it is they wish to glaze, and Mr. Hess will demonstrate some things and talk about some things, and then they'll actually do the firing and then talk about those things when they're finished and how, what they've done.
That's great. Great. And also at that same time, you have a jewelry workshop.
Yeah,
Jen
yeah.
Townsend.
So there's two different approaches towards making jewelry, or many, but traditionally we think about jewelry as a good amount of the jewelry is made by casting, right? You make an object in wax and you basically make a mold and you displace the wax with a lost wax process with precious metal of some sort. So otherwise, we talked about like what Sharon Massey's doing, where you're fabricating out of less precious materials. So we have both approaches to the practice of metalsmithing here. But what Jen Townsend brings to this is the lessons in how to make the wax forms, first and foremost, but also how to interact with people who do the casting practice for you, who will do the actual casting and the processing of that wax object and turn it into a finished piece of art, right? So
Very
that sort of
cool.
interactive process, how best to make that interaction, what, the kind of the inside tips and the inside story,
Yeah.
what's the best way to work with outsiders for people who don't have access to or don't care to have access to casting and making things in, silver, bronze,
Right.
or gold, or whatever it is.
Right. So that has sort of a varied audience there.
Yeah.
That workshop. Great. And then later in June we have Fong Chu.
Yeah, Fong, he's he's kind of a local guy, not too local, but he's in Illinois, I think, or Indiana, but he's somebody that's known to us. We've done traditionally, over the past couple of years, an exhibition program that's included a Ceramics National Invitational, and so Fong has been included in that. And with this particular year, for this particular workshop program, we did sort of a preview exhibition of all of the artists who are giving the presentations. So we just concluded this exhibition, and Fong makes these beautiful teapot forms, absolutely exquisite, these sort of small, beautiful forms, but he does them with a sense of playfulness, like a certain sense of adventure and a certain sort of just a way of sort of skewing the practice of making teapots. So these aren't traditional teapots, but they're both elegant and kind of alternatively kind of funky and quirky as well. So that's what he's doing. He's doing a workshop called Demystifying Form, Clay Play on the Teapot, and that's June the 26th and the 27th. Right.
Great. And I did notice in the brochure here, he's also teaching at Valley this summer in
Yes.
Indonesia.
Yeah, for his second time, as I understand it. Yeah. And then we mentioned early on Victoria Lansford with this practice, this arcane or sort of ancient practice of Russian filigree, which it just seems so fantastic to me. I look at her work and
So
it's
intricate.
unfathomable, right? How people can craft such things and the
Right.
skill sets that are involved in that. And she's widely known for like video training for these practices as well, but there's really nothing like working with somebody
Absolutely.
one-on-one, hands-on, and so she's doing this as a 2-day workshop in mid-July, the 17th through the 18th, and she does this traditional open-backed process where basically these forms are hammered and sort of using stamps and different types of tools and reverse forms. The metal is sort of hammered into forms, and she shapes these volumes and then articulates them and addresses them with these intricate sort of lacework of silver. Really fabulous stuff.
Yeah,
right?
it does look like lace in parts. That it is so beautiful. What a treat it would be to learn from her. And then after that, you have another jewelry metals
Yeah, so as we move
program.
into later summer, we move into August, we have a gentleman by the name of Tim Lazure, who's doing a workshop that specifically focuses on making rings.
Yes.
And if we look at some of his things, we'll see that he does some traditional things, but he also does some very sort of unusual and unique things where he takes found objects and reappropriates them and puts them to a new purpose. And in this
Wonderful.
particular case, making custom rings that speak to the personality of the person who's making them and ultimately the personality of the person who would wear them.
I love that. He talks a lot about symbolism and kind of the meaning and tradition behind rings, which is very neat.
Right. Well, he's a pretty remarkable guy. He makes furniture and he makes sculptural works, and then he works on this scale as well. And everything I've seen, everything he touches is just like so inventive and remarkable. Right?
Wonderful. Each of these is so exciting. And then the final workshop is Lisa Naples.
Yes.
Also at the beginning of August, Flat to Functional, Cultivating Personal Expression.
Well, like you just mentioned about Tim, that this notion of bringing to the work a certain personality. So part of what Lisa's going to be helping artists to do is to sort of find that inner person. Who is that, and how do you and your work differentiate themselves from the work of others? And it shouldn't be difficult, because all we have to do again is sort of recognize, realize, and materialize who we are individually and apply that to the practice of making art. So that's part of what she's going to be doing. But she's also noted for these sort of her own personality shows in her work, and so she's noted for these sort of animated or forms that are built out of soft slab. So they're built out of a red clay that's a soft slab clay. And she forms these things by hand and then in many cases gives them these sort of animal visages where they have like the shape of birds or rabbits or fish and such. But she's also known for a particular type of like an iron oxide glazing process that she's going to share with others as well.
Wonderful.
And as we look at her picture, we can see that she's like, she's a funny little personality, right?
That's right.
Yeah, she's very spirited, and,
Yes.
and I'm sure that workshop would be just tons of fun.
Absolutely,
right?
a good finale to this series.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful series. We'll like we said, show that link for Paducah School of Art and Design.org.
Okay, excellent.
And I guess tell us a little bit about registration and how that process works.
Okay, well, we mentioned the website, so everything that we've talked about here today and all of the visuals that we perhaps have seen as well are online at Paducah School of Art and Design.org, and there's a registration process. It's available there online as well. Or if we can register by email or fax or traditional mail, and just send the form in, and we have information on the local bed and breakfast and the restaurants, and we've included your link in our materials so people can see all the other things that there are to do in Paducah if they want to travel here with their significant other, and there's plenty for that other person to be doing while one or the other is taking these workshop experiences.
Absolutely. So Paducah School of Art and Design.org, and then Paducah.travel for more information about travel information. I know I had mentioned testimonials earlier, and you were able to provide some great words from last year. Just a few highlights for me. I saw, "This is definitely the best series of workshops I've ever attended. Kudos to the Paducah School of Art and Design. I learned more than I expected. Over the past couple of days, PSAD has become like another home to me. A great workshop by a great potter, person, and teacher. I can't wait to come back. Not only was the presenter fabulous, but the facility was top-notch. Thank you for being here." Those are some really great words.
And we love that. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, we love that. And you know, almost without exception, all of the comments were positive.
Yes.
It's a first year for us, so we had some, minor issues, but all we got were compliments on the level of service, our commitment to the program, our facilities, certainly John and Sarah's work on our behalf, and the people that they brought, the quality of the people that were here, and we got to meet a bunch of new friends, and they got to know Paducah a bit, and hopefully we'll see some of them again next year, and they can bring people with them, and we grow this program over the years to come. Right?
Wonderful. So definitely our viewers, even if they are not the artists who specialize in ceramics or jewelry and metals, they know someone who is an artist in those areas, they should definitely pass this along. I think they would not be disappointed. You mentioned also some other exciting developments for PSAD with the renovations and expansion.
Yes.
Talk a little bit more about that. What's next, and what will we be seeing happening in Lowertown?
Okay, well, the first of our three projects was the renovation of a historic building known as Madison Hall, and it had served a variety of purposes in Paducah over the generations, over like many generations,
Yes.
like of course close to 100 years, I think, and its most recent incarnation was as a special events hall. So we repurposed that building for our ceramics and our jewelry and metals program, and we've been in there for 2 years at this point. And then that's a 6,700 square foot facility, so it's ample and beautifully equipped, as we mentioned earlier. And we just this past August opened a built-for-purpose sculpture building adjacent to what we're now calling the ceramics and small metals building. And that is fully equipped with woodworking, metals fabrication, a bronze foundry, a plaster and wax room to support the foundry. We have a 3D printer, and we're going to be making things on the 3D printer and then casting them in bronze as instead of doing a traditional lost wax process. We're going to sort of contemporize that practice and allow our students to make things that sort of raise the bar in terms of our traditional AFA students, raise the bar in terms of what the product and expectation would be to come out of a 2-year school. So we don't consider ourselves a typical community college art program. We consider ourselves to be on the leading edge of the opportunities that we can provide for students for transfer and for the community that we serve, for people to add value again to the investment that artists have made in Lowertown, the investment that the city has made in Lowertown, and certainly now the investment that the college and the community college system is making into Lower Town.
Right, such an asset. It really, I mean, the facilities, I know every time that I'm there, it is so impressive, the world-class facilities. And like you said, your goal is to equip students with more than they would usually have from a 2-year program.
Yeah, our goal, again, is to place our traditional students in the best four-year schools that we can, and we think by having the proper facilities, and we have excellent faculty, so we're confident that we can do that. We've had students, or we have students at the Art Institute in Chicago, at various other four-year schools that really are top-notch, and we're very proud of that. Beyond that, we are scheduled to open in January of 2016. Fingers crossed, and if the snow ever stops falling, we might actually get there. But to open a new 30,000 square foot historic property, which is adjacent to the Madison Hall properties. So so we have built in a small campus in Lower Town, on the edge of Lower Town, that we're very pleased and very proud of. That will serve our 2D and graphic design programs. So we'll have painting, drawing, photography, visual communications program, and multimedia will be housed in that building. And that's really going to be fabulous.
It will be, and we love these opportunities like the Master Artist Workshops to get the public in, you know, besides just the students and local population, to get people here to learn and create.
Right. Well, and on the topic of getting the public, and we're also launching a Bistro Cafe in conjunction with the opening of this new building. So not only will we have that as another resource and asset for the community, but we will have sort of master classes in the culinary arts there as well, where we'll have guests, chefs come in, and our people from out on campus, and we'll use it for a catering kitchen. And so, yeah, that's a really, really sweet addition that's come sort of late in the process, but not late enough to make good use of it and to plan properly for it. Yeah.
It's a very exciting addition. I think that we're about to have to wrap up, but one other thing that I'd like to mention is the Clemens Fine Arts Center Gallery that hosts those national invitationals and also student and faculty work. So that's another opportunity to see the work of PSAD.
Right. Well, and we think that it's a nice complement for the things that the Arts in Focus program does here on campus. They've certainly been active and successful for a lot more years than we've been around, but we think we add value to their activities, and their activities bring audiences for the things that we show in the lobby space in the Clemens Fine Arts Center Gallery. So we're very proud. Part of our chore was to upgrade the quality of those exhibitions, and we think we have done that. And again, as we move into this new building, we'll have a built-for-purpose gallery there, and we'll just continue on that trail and continue to expand that exhibition program and to bring and complement other things that are happening in the community. And again, everybody working together to put Paducah on the map as a cultural destination and a city of artists, and a city that embraces the arts and artists.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for being with us today. Stay tuned for much more on the School of Art and Design, the Master Artist Workshop Series, and Paducah's creative culture. Have a great day.
1, 2, 1, 2, go. Hello.